Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to meet today. I'd like to take a few moments to explain two important areas of a child's development that impacts their learning, which is visual processing and sensory motor integration. So understanding how these work can really help us make better decisions when supporting your child's academic and behavioral needs. So starting off, visual processing. With visual processing, this is not really about how well a child sees with their eyes, but rather how the brain understands and makes sense of what is being seen. So visual processing occurs in the brain's occipital lobe and involves recognizing shapes, patterns, and movements. So for example, struggling to copy from the board, confusing similar looking letters like B and D, having a hard time finding something in a cluttered space. And how we assess this is that we often use tasks like block design, visual puzzles, or figure ground tests. So these assessments help us see whether the child is processing visual information at the expected level of their age. So next is visual motor integration. Visual motor integration is how the eyes and hands work together to complete a task. It's like the teamwork between what a child sees and how their body responds. There are a few studies that show that children with developmental disabilities often have difficulty with visual motor skills. So some examples are poor handwriting, difficulty cutting with scissors, trouble staying within lines when coloring. So we assess this by using tools like the Berry BMI, which is very commonly used. And we will ask children to copy shapes or designs to evaluate how well they can coordinate vision and motor output. Next is sensory motor integration. So this is how the brain receives messages from the senses and turns them into physical responses. This system helps with balancing, posturing, attention, and even emotional regulation. So it is explained that sensory and motor systems will work together throughout feedback loops. So what we see, hear, feel will affect how we move and behave. Some examples of this can be a child who bumps into objects often, a child who avoids messy play or has strong reactions to touch or sound, and difficulty sitting still or transitioning between tasks. So we assess this by observing classroom behavior, using teacher and parent questionnaires, and conducting movement-based tasks. This is usually done through occupational therapists who may also assess these areas more deeply. So why it matters for learning. These skills are foundational for many classroom tasks. When a child has difficulty with visual or sensory motor integration, it can really impact their writing, reading, attention, and even social participation. So identifying these issues helps us build IEP goals that are specific and effective to the student. It also helps us determine whether the student would benefit from OT services, to have movement breaks, or classroom accommodations like alternate seating or visual aids. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions or share more about how we support these areas through assessment and intervention. This final slide are all the references that I used for all the information that I presented to you in the slides. I did not include them, unfortunately, or verbally mention them, but every single one from Lorraine, Carson, Ackerlery, they were all gathered and used for each slide that I presented to you. Thank you.